Good afternoon, welcome back to Monza for round one of the Ferrari Challenge for 2016. It's day two of racing, and the crowd here are looking forward to this TropheoPirelli race, which will be on track within the next few moments. And if it's anything like as exciting as yesterday's, then we're in for a good one. So it is round one here at Monza. As you can see, we're off to Mugello towards the end of April, then it's Le Mans in June as support to the 24-hour race. Sochi in Russia, then it's Hockenheim, Jerez, and the big world finals in Daytona this year in December. Everyone down there on the grid then in anticipation of the cars making their way to the grid as we speak. And here is our circuit location in Monza in Italy, around 20-25 minutes depending on traffic from central Milan. One of the most historic circuits here in Monza, and of course for many years the season opener traditionally for the Ferrari Challenge, this 5.7 kilometer circuit with 8 turns. And as I mentioned, one of the most historic circuits, of course, and one that everyone associated with Ferrari absolutely loves. Whether you're a driver or a race fan, it is the place to be. It's a little bit warmer than yesterday, and a little bit of sun has come out. It's 19 degrees, and the track temperature, as you can see there, 31 degrees. Certainly feels warmer than yesterday, and it is a bit overcast now. We take a look at the lineup on the grid, and there's our pole sitter, Philippe Baron. Starts from pole position. Yesterday finished P2 in the race. Stuck with Babylos, who was the race leader for lap after lap after lap, and couldn't find a way past. Bjorn Grossman then, the TropheoPirelli champion from 2015. He's alongside Philippe Baron and goes from P2. Interesting little aside issue here is Philippe Baron drives for the Octane 126 team. Very team that Philippe Baron used to race for as well. So make of that what you will, but it's going to be very interesting going into the first Variante del Rettifio chicane. And Babylos did not have, yesterday's race winner, didn't have the perfect qualifying today, and has qualified P4, but one place ahead of him is this man, driver number 9, Marcello Puglisi, the Rosso Corsa driver. So here we are then. It's Monza in Italy. So fantastic postcard of our venue here as we look at P4 on the grid. Yesterday's race winner, Babylos, who drives with that nom de plume, the 2015 TropheoPirelli World Champion, which is the one-off race that comes right at the end of the year. He took the championship and is the world champion, although he didn't win the series outright. Actually finished P2 in the TropheoPirelli Championship last year. David Gostner then is P5 on the grid. Big thumbs up from David Gostner, the Ineco MP racing driver, who finished the race yesterday P4 in the race overall. And they're a good shot of all the engineers down there working. In terms of preparation of the cars, the Hublot safety car ready to leave the grid. All the Ferrari Challenge races feature a rolling lap start, so the safety car will be off. Now there's the UK racer and the best of the AM drivers, because there are 2 categories, Pro and AM driver. Sam Smith then. And Sam Smith then in for the season this year, full campaign. And Alessandro Vezzoni, the AM champion from last year, is going from P7 on the grid now. Because he won the TropheoPirelli AM Championship, as you can see there on screen, he's been elevated into a pro driver now. So, and success ballast, if you like, but he gets elevated up a grid. There's John Farano, then the Canadian racer, going from P8, another one of the AM drivers, and you'll see on the little graphics, 3 career wins for John Farano, but you'll see on the little graphics that identify each driver, there's a little box which distinguishes whether they're AM or pros. And John Ferrano is one of the AM drivers. Great shot of the number 32 car of the Style F Squadra Corsa racer, Andreas Segler there. So to yesterday's race then, TropheoPirelli Race 1. David Gosner making the early charges in terms of trying to find just some space between the two cars at the front, but it was Babylos who got his nose in front. Bjorn Grossman, a great move up to P3. And once Babylos has got his nose in front, there was going to be no stopping him, truthfully, whatever anyone decided to throw at in terms of trying to get past. And it was Philippe Baron that was always going to be on his tail, and unfortunately that's where he stayed. That was a spinner very early on, provoked into that spin, as you could see. On board with David Gosner looking forward, and these two really were up the road, Philippe Baron and Babylos. Babylos, though, not suffering under the intense pressure put on him by Philippe Baron. Talking to Philippe Baron earlier today, he said he had the pace he felt, but just could not find a way past Babylos. Babylos is one of those drivers, doesn't seem to make mistakes. Sam Smith, an electrical power component failure from about 4 laps into the race, which meant that he wasn't able to give the car 100%, but good finishing position for Sam Smith nonetheless, taking P2 in the AM category. But it was going to go the way of Matteo Santaponte, known as Babylos, to take the win from Philippe Baron, and Martin Nelson taking the AM category win. It's the calm before the storm. Alongside me to call the race is Dave King, and yesterday's racing was great. Today it's going to be even better because the sun is shining a little bit.
Absolutely, and as you mentioned, track temperature slightly higher, air temperature slightly higher. There's also a crowd as well. I'm sure the crowd makes a big difference as well.
Of course it does. Yes, you're absolutely right, because all the drivers, fans and family are here, and they are very much looking forward to seeing this race, which is about to get underway. So it is race 2 of the 2 races across the weekend for the TropheoPirelli drivers in the Ferrari Challenge. And here's the grid in full for you. Philippe Baron goes from pole position. A 1:57.54 gave him pole. That's some margin over Bjorn Grossman in P2. Then it's Puglisi is P3. Babylos, yesterday's race winner, goes from P4 on the grid for Scuderia Autoropa. Then the next rows, it's David Gosner and Sam Smith. Sam Smith, the best of the AM drivers. Then it's Alessandro Vezzoni and John Ferrano on the next row of the grid. Then we see Andreas Segler and Martin Nelson, Thomas Roca and Jan Dennis, Ps 9 through and to 12. And then the next rows of the grid, see Benanati and Fischer and Ramelli and Yakuskin for Rosso Corsa Pellin Racing, going from P16, and then Attar, the Octane 126 driver, brings up the rear, going from P17. Safety car roars away in the Rosso Corsa garage. You can see the radio sets. All these drivers can communicate with their teams. So just a few seconds after the safety car having left the grid, then the race cars will go as well. Right on cue. It's formation lap time, and it's at this point where the butterflies are really going in the stomachs of each and every one of those drivers, let alone us up here in the comms booth, as well as we're on board with David Gosner, the Ineco MP racing driver, who holds all the success from yesterday, to be honest, because he was the only Gosner of the 4 that were racing that actually finished a race over yesterday. His father Thomas and his 2 sisters, Corinna and Manuela, in the Copa Shell category of Ferrari Challenge. all ended up out of the race. All the social media on screen for you there if you'd like to be part of it. That's where you can get right involved with the Ferrari Challenge, including on facebook.com/Ferrari. Cars weaving from side to side, trying to get some temperature into those Pirelli tyres. And something that we never really mention too often is the fact that just as crucial getting temperature into the tyres, Dave King, is getting temperatures into the brakes as well.
Absolutely. Now, we did notice that the other day, didn't we, when we were pit side, and they were changing pads left, right and centre, and then they described as to why they did that.
Absolutely. What they do is they have pads that are already, if you like, the first surface, the first part of the braking pad. Almost like a tyre gets scrubbed in, doesn't it? So that, should it be necessary to replace a pad, they've got working sets that they can throw straight into the caliper effectively. Amazing how the engineers work, and they do a brake pad change in minutes.
Absolutely.
Extraordinary.
And thinking of the engineers, of course, they in the Grossma team, they must have been working well into the night last night.
Yes, the Gosler team would have had a lot of work, Nico MP Racing team, to do to put the other three Gosler cars back together again. And of course, Eric Prinot was out in the Copa Show race as well. So we'll come to the Copa Show, and there was a classic example of Philippe Barron down to that turn, anchored up just to get some warmth into those brake discs and brake pads. So proving our point, if you like, as we see Sam Smith come through there, and then the weaving going on, look from side to side, trying to maintain the temperature into those Pirelli tyres, which, having discussed yesterday, Dave, and I know it was a question that you put to one of the drivers about the performance of the Pirelli tyre. It's great and it's optimum for a few laps. Then it goes off a little bit, but it really plateaus. It stays that way. It doesn't, what we call, drop off a cliff.
Absolutely. And of course, all the heat that they're putting in the tyres and the track temperature of 31 degrees, that all adds to the stickiness of the tyres.
Yeah, of course, yes. Well, there you can see they've picked the safety car up, or rather the safety car has picked the grid up once again. And what happens is the cars get into grid order, and the safety car leads them around. And once they are in grid order, and providing the race steward is happy, then he will release the safety car. It will peel off into the pit lane. It has done so. It's now down to the race director if he's happy with the lineup of the cars. It all looks pretty good, to be honest. We throw the lights to the top of the screen, and we're about to go racing for race number 2 in TropheoPirelli. It's going to be a mad dash to that first chicane between Philippe Barron and Bjorn Grossman. Two very young, hot shoe chargers in this, and Barron has definitely got it. And look at this. Babyliss is trying to come through the middle already as they head towards that first chicane. And Bjorn Grossman is being hung out to dry a little bit. He's not going to be able to make the chicane. Now, that will be a penalty, undoubtedly, for Bjorn Grossman. He's going to have to let the cars go past because he had an advantage there. And a brilliant start for Matteo Santaponte. Babyliss then, who just came through the middle of row 2 of the grid and has put his car into P2 and is challenging Philippe Barron now. Bjorn Grossman's fighting back. David Gosner is in that mix as well. Going off the track there was Puglisi just a little bit. He, of course, was starting from the second row of the grid. Bjorn Grossman under pressure from David Gosner there. Bjorn Grossman driving the number 1 car. He is the TropheoPirelli champion, and he's got David Gosner right on his tail. Another one of the Octane 126 cars. Car there of Fisher going through. But here's a replay, and look, Babyliss just got his car into the middle there, didn't he? Gosner was trying to do exactly the same. And well, Bjorn Grossman had no alternative really than to shortcut the chicane, and then straight away he gave those places back that he gained because he knew that he would suffer a penalty, and that's on board from David Gosner, just how he was having to wrestle with that car. And of course, on the right-hand side of the car, he's got nothing but 458 metal.
A lot of jostling at that first turn.
Inevitable, wasn't it? Always inevitable. So brilliant replays. And now Philippe Barron is able just to get up the road a little bit. He's opened up a gap of some 6/10 over Babyliss, hard charging in P2. Puglisi then is P3 and Bjorn Grossman is P4, followed by David Gostner, and then Alessandro Vezzoni now attacks Sam Smith. Sam Smith in the number 92 car, and there's Alessandro Vezzoni, who's right behind the Sam Smith machine at the moment. So there is Bjorn Grossman, who's running in P4, but our race leader is Philippe Barron in the number 91 car. Now, Babalus is not as close to Philippe Barron as probably he would like to be, but is this a ploy by Babalus that he's just going to keep a little bit of a margin there and try and keep the car in slightly cooler air? You can see there the brake discs of the Bjorn Grossman car really lighting up. Now, Philippe Barron absolutely going for it, and the gap is up to just 1,000th under what is it? It's 9/100th, so 9/10ths actually is what Philippe Barron has over Babalus right now. So the TropheoPirelli Pro leader is Philippe Barron. The AM leader, who's actually running in P6, will be Sam Smith in the all-yellow machine. You see it on screen now.
Taking a wide part of that runoff area as well on there.
They carry so much speed through there, Dave. It's almost inevitable that they're going to run wide. Kind of don't ever gain an advantage through doing it because everyone does it. So there, confirmation then, the leader in the AM category is Sam Smith, driving for Stratstone Ferrari, engineered, of course, by the FF Corsa team. But Philippe Barron is absolutely blistering. He's just done PBs in every single sector, and therefore sets an incredible lap time of 1:52.225. Compare that to Babalus, who did a 1:53.172. That's very nearly a second faster.
We were saying yesterday as well that we thought that he hadn't got the straight line speed to get past him very clearly.
Yeah, you make a very good point. You make a very good point. Yeah, he has got the pace. He's certainly got the pace in the car today because he is leaving them in his wake. And Babalus, he's not able to respond. Standings in the AM then. Smith, Nelson, Ferrano and Segler. It was Nelson that took the AM category yesterday. And, well, it's Sam Smith that's leading the AM category at the moment. Bjorn Grossman now is putting some pressure on the P3 car of Puglisi. There is Puglisi then in the number 9 red 458, and Bjorn Grossman all over the back of Marcello Puglisi at the moment. Puglisi racing for the Rosso Corsa team. And again in Sector 1, Philippe Barron, quickest of any driver out there. Of course, what he does have is the advantage of having a completely clear track ahead of him. Battle for third position, as you say there. And what's that debris on the left-hand side of the track I've just seen? In the gravel there. Just saw that flying through the air. Well, that's the under tray of somebody's car. It's Bjorn Grossman really attacking Marcello Puglisi now. We'll keep an eye on that piece of debris that we saw flying in. There it is. Now that's off the rear of somebody's car. That, to me, looks like a Scuderia Autoropa back panel. See how correct my viewing is, but it certainly looked like the livery of a Scuderia Autoropa car, which means it's either Babalus or it's Martin Nelson. Well, we'll see. And look at that, Bjorn Grossman all over the back of Marcello Puglisi, trying to find a way through. Takes a wide line through there that hopefully will give him the traction out, but the door is blocked. And now it's the long way around the Curva Grande, turn 2 here at Monza. And Bjorn Grossman then is certainly on him, but he's not able to find a way. It's a difficult circuit, some say, in terms of overtaking. So there we are. Do you know what? I was right. Well, it's off the Babalus car. And there it goes.
Yeah. Now, will that have any downforce consequences?
It could, actually, it could. For the rear end of the car, it might make the rear end much more twitchy. So that is certainly not going to help Babalus's quest for getting on terms with Philippe Barron. Although after saying that, Babalus has just done the best of anyone in Sector 1. He's taken a full 5/10 out of Philippe Barron. So as Bjorn Grossman dives up the edge. Oh, it looked like he was going to go for it there, didn't it? This is the battle for P3 that we're watching, which is the closest battle out there on the track at the moment, because you can see Barron. For my money, that gap is coming down between Philippe Barron and Babalus now. I think Babalus has got it together, and I think maybe the chase is on. 1.834 was the margin last lap completed. We'll check it out next time around. Now, Bjorn Grossman in P4 at the moment. He's in this horrible position where he's having to chase down Marcello Puglisi ahead of him and try and get past him. But he's also going to be having to think about defending David Gosner, who's there. Well, the margin at the front didn't alter, to be truthful. But here comes Bjorn Grossman now looking for P3. And Sam Smith looking very lively for the AM category as well, looking for a way past David Gosner as well. So there, Bjorn Grossman carrying a lot of speed through that Curva Grande. Is he going to build the speed up? Can he get his nose up the inside? Once again he tries going into that Della Roggia chicane, but he's just not quite able to get his nose up alongside, is he, to go through on the inside?
There really is only a few places where you can overtake, isn't there? And it really does show that every time they go around the circuit, they're trying to work out the next time they go around whether they're going to be close enough.
Absolutely, and it's watching what the driver in front is doing, trying to anticipate what his line is going to be, where his weak point is going to be. Bjorn Grossman at the moment is doing exactly that. He's mentally taking on board absolutely every wheel track that Marcello Puglisi is using, in the hope that he can just find the pace he will need. What he needs to do is just put that car alongside, because then as Puglisi tries to turn in, he's not going to be able to, because the gap that he wants to turn into is going to be full of that octane 1.26458. But at the moment, Bjorn Grossman hasn't been able to do that. Is he going to be able to do it this time? Yes, he is. That was brilliant. No, it's not, because he's carried too much speed, look. Well, it was a brilliant setup of it, and now he's going to try again. Around the parabolica they come, heading for the start-finish line. He's going to have another go going into the first chicane, for sure. But he carried too much speed. He got the overtake done, but then he couldn't scrub the speed off, and he was weak and vulnerable. And look at this, Sam Smith has got past David Gosner. What an absolutely brilliant move, but he carried too much speed as well. And that means that AM did not get past Pro, because Sam once again did exactly the same. He got the overtake done, but you know, you're carrying so much speed there that you're not going to be able to make the turn, and we've seen both Bjorn Grossman and Sam Smith fall prey to the same problem.
So after all that work, we're back in the same position.
Absolutely, absolutely. But what it does do, it will of course unsettle Puglisi, and it will unsettle David Gosner as well in the two battles that we're watching. And well, to be fair, Gosner has got more of an advantage now, because Sam Smith lost so much speed and momentum, didn't he, that he's now been gapped to David Gosner, whereas Bjorn Grossman remains right on the gearbox of Marcello Puglisi, as you can see here.
But you could tell he was lighting up those brakes at that point.
And what Bjorn might be thinking now is that, yeah, I'm going to have to try and provoke a mistake out of Puglisi. So again, look, he just dives into the clean air to see if he can just unsettle the driver in front. But well, Puglisi is driving the obviously the fastest line, and it's all the work is coming the way of Bjorn Grossman. He's the one that's having to do all the hard work, of course. There's John Ferrano in car number 59, who is being hunted down by Andreas Segler at the moment. The battle for the AM third position, as you can see there. So much going on, each and everywhere we look, there is a battle going on somewhere.
But of course, Puglisi is now going to know where he's going to take. He's going to have another go.
Of course he is. Of course he is. And he's going to block that. But now is Segler up the inside of John Ferrano? No, not quite close enough. Just looking at the timing screen, Dave King, going back to the battle at the front. Babylos is taking a few tenths out of Philip Barron. The last lap, so Babylos did a 1:52.194 compared to Philip Barron's 1:52.512.
Is that because he's lighter?
Might have something to do with it, and everything that we thought perhaps about the Babylos losing that rear end bodywork and how that might make the car twitchy at the rear end, he's clearly able to drive through it, isn't he?
Absolutely.
So, okay, we continue to watch this battle for third position in the AM category then that's going on between the Canadian racer John Ferrano and Andreas Segler then in the number 32 car that you can see there. John Ferrano just kicking up a bit of dust there as he runs on the curb. And this little battle continues between Marcello Puglisi and Bjorn Grossman. I remind you that Bjorn Grossman carries the number 1 number because he is the TropheoPirelli champion from 2015. He's back with Octane 126 for another season. And there is P1 and P2 going through. And here comes Bjorn Grossman once again.
All over the back of that car.
Puglisi again denies him that opportunity, which is his right to do so. So around the Parabolica, here comes the start-finish straight once again as they head towards the Variante del Rettifio, the first chicane. What can Bjorn Grossman do? Max Blancardi, another multi-champion in Ferrari Challenge, who's now working as a driver coach for Octane 126, looks on, and John Ferrano, Andreas Segler side by side here. Where is Segler going to go? Where is Ferrano going to go? Neither of them are going to give an inch. You can see the car squirm under braking. And that was a brilliant move by Andreas Segler, who set that up perfectly. And there, the difference was that he was able to scrub the speed off and make that chicane without a problem. And once he was able to do that, John Ferrano was denied.
I mean, the designers of this circuit with that chicane there have done an absolute great job to really sort the man out from the boys.
Oh, absolutely. It's you know, you carry so much speed along that straight, and you know, that is it's a real pinch point on that circuit, on this circuit, and has been for many, many years. Well, there was a replay of Segler, and I don't know how recent this replay is because Ferrano has got back past him. So there is John Ferrano. Segler is ahead of him. Segler is ahead of him, so that was a replay from earlier on.
And a spin.
Who was that went round? I didn't catch that one. That was Yakaskin, I'm sure. Yes, it is. The Rosso Corsa Pelion racer Yakaskin has gone round, but lights it up and he's back out on the track again, and this is how he did it. You can see the heat being dissipated through those front wheels and was just never going to make that chicane, so took to the grass. And
now, of course, this is going to give extra problems as well because that back marker is going to be caught up very quickly.
Absolutely, absolutely, and you have to try and get through that traffic. Right, back to my reporting duties from the timing screen just for a moment, if I may. As Sector 1, it's another PB from Babylos. It's not a PB, it's a best of anyone out there, as he's taken another 10th out of the gap between himself and Philip Barron, who is leading this race. So the battle for the second position in AM is going to be between Martin Nelson and Andreas Segler now, who has got past John Ferrano, and he's hard chasing now. Oh, and Bjorn Grossman has got a problem. So Bjorn Grossman is out, having pushed so very hard to try and find a way past Puglisi. Now it'll be interesting to see if anything caused that, whether there was a little bit of contact. He'll try and nurse that car back, but where is he on the track? He's right around the back end of the circuit. He's got a very long way to go before he's back into the pit lane. He's heading down now towards the Variante Ascari.
That's going to do damage to the car and the bodywork and everywhere.
Yeah, it is, and unfortunately Bjorn Grossman's charge and challenge is over as he's dropping down the order. Here comes Martin Nelson then, and Andreas Segler is driving like a demon at the moment, really is, and he's the car that's currently running in P7 overall, but of course he's chasing P2 in the AM Championship, because Martin Nelson in the AM category is just ahead of him there in that Scuderia Autoropa car. John Farano's keeping with them as well, and this often happens that, you know, you'll recall that Farano was defending against Segler. Segler has got past. Farano's been able to up the game a bit now in terms of chasing him. So he's kind of watching every line that Segler takes, and he's doing exactly the same. So that was when the tyre let go on the Bjorn Grossman car. Well, Bjorn Grossman has made it back to the pit lane. I can tell you that from the track map that we have as we watch Martin Nelson now, who has got Andreas Segler for company. This is the battle in the AMs for P2 and P3 in the AMs. Sam Smith is leading that, and Sam Smith is up the road and is P5 overall, but he's leading the AM category, as you can see there, and has got quite a margin over Martin Nelson. This is Martin Nelson, who took the AM win yesterday in the Scuderia Autoropa liveried machine, same livery as that being used by Babylos, who's currently running in P2. And I was then going to say that Babylos has got a problem because the margin has gone up to 5.4 seconds, and just as I say that,
into the barrier,
Franco, our director, manages to throw in that replay. Now, if Babylos has been able to survive that, that's extraordinary, because he went off one side of the track, came back on, then onto the grass, and he did clatter into the Armco as well. I'd literally just picked up on the timing screen that the gap had gone up to 5.466. I think he's got a problem with that car. He'd already lost the back end, and you know what you were saying about, is that going to have any effect on the car? Well, clearly, he was driving through it, and the car was probably behaving differently, but he was able to drive through it, and then just for a momentary lapse of concentration, because he'd had to adapt his driving, presumably, he'd forgotten. And we saw the consequences. I'm sure that's the case.
Yeah, they bit him.
Well, we will see. I have to be honest, it was a brilliant save from him to come out of the gravel, right the way across the track, onto the grass at the sort of speed they're doing, into the Armco, and then put it back on the track and resume his chase.
But that would surely upset you just for a moment in your thinking.
Absolutely, it's got to, hasn't it? But and you can see also where Babylos might have a problem now is that the car might overheat. And I'll tell you why in a moment as we watch there the number 67 car of Fischer turn in. And when he went to turn in, the gap that he was turning into was full of the Benanati machine. Now, the reason I'm saying this about Babylos, just if we can see this on the screen, there's the Philip Barron car come through. He's got 5 seconds over Babylos now. But if you look just above the Rosso Corsa note there on the front splitter, that's a cooling vent. And if you look now at the Babylos car, when we see that on screen, the Babylos car, that cooling area is full of grass now. And whether that will have an effect in terms of the air rushing through to cool the car, whether that car might start to overheat. You can see there above the Scuderia Autoropa, you can see how that is now green, look. And that's all grass through it.
Yep, great shot from there.
And that might have an effect. So, we will see. Where are we at in terms of, we've got just under 10 minutes of racing left to do. So I think that Babylos's car might run much, much hotter than is optimum because of that. If he can maintain this and keep it in P2, given that incredible save that he made, he'll do very, very well. The one attempt Sam Smith had on getting past David Gosner has cost him dearly because he's never been as close to David Gosner since. But he is winning the AM category and deserves much credit for that. British driver Sam Smith there in that Shire liveried 458, run by Stratstone Ferrari and FF Corsa. And good to see that Sam has committed to the entire season this year. Went so very well at Mugello right at the end of last season in the World Final weekend. And he's running P5 and P1 in class. So the battle for second position now is going to be picked up by Marcello Puglisi, who's now able to get on terms with Babylos, because I think that car is ill handling and Babylos is is
struggling with it.
Well, I don't think he is struggling with it. I think he's driving remarkably well with it. Oh, my goodness me. And that was, in replay, what we didn't see from Babylos as he took to the air, having gone over the curbs. And, you know, it's a mark of him as a driver that he's able to continue at the pace he is with that car clearly not at its best. Of course, it's advantageous to Marcello Puglisi, who is going to try and find a way past him. I suspect that Babylos is not going to be too keen on that, and he's going to do absolutely everything he can to prevent himself losing that P2 position, because if he can hold on to that with the car in the state that it's in, it will be a remarkable drive from Babylos.
But really, of course, we've just seen in the last couple of minutes a couple of not mistakes, but handling issues. So he may well be able to make hay out of that.
I still think that temperature is going to be a problem. I think that his car is going to be running so very hot that the optimum power is going to go away from him. He's not going to have that because the car is going to be too hot. But we will see. We've got another just under 7 minutes of this race. And there is Martin Nelson. Now, Martin Nelson himself is under pressure from Andreas Segler. Martin Nelson took the AM win yesterday, is in P2 in the AM category at the moment. Andreas Segler is right on him as well. And you can see how that gap between the two of them has been over the last 3 or 4 laps. Martin Nelson buoyed by taking that, and I have to be honest, it was a brilliant drive from Martin Nelson yesterday, and he's certainly going to want to be on the podium again today if he possibly can. And P2 is always better than P3 as he makes an error there and has to shortcut the chicane. He was carrying too much speed into it and wasn't able to use the more traditional route through the chicane and had to shortcut it. That, of course, has given him a slight advantage over Andreas Segler because that's gapped him a little bit more. Whether the race stewards will have anything to say over that, we will wait and see. As you can see, the gap now is much larger between Martin Nelson and Andreas Segler than it once was. And, John Ferrano in P8 in the race overall, and is the 4th of the AM drivers. So there is Segler then in car number 32, driving for the Stylef Squadra Corsa team. John Ferrano then taking plenty of curb, and behind them it's Jan Danis, who is actually a pro driver running down there in P9 in the all-yellow car that you just saw at the back of that shot.
Now, of course, with these cars being so evenly matched, power-wise, it's going to take an awful lot for these guys to pull something out the back and get behind them.
Particularly at this point, where with 5 minutes left to run, as Alessandro Vezzoni clearly with a problem in the number 27 car, and he's now a back-marking car and is letting everyone through. Just take a look at Vezzoni. Has he got a puncture or what? But he's certainly allowing everyone through. Now, information I can bring you from our timing screen and also our track map screen and the transponders that are on the cars are that Bjorn Grossman came in and he's back out again. So Bjorn Grossman, of course, way down the order now in P15, but he is back out there, and that's credit to the Octane 126 team who have got him back out. Now, that, to me, looks like Puglisi. There is the number 55 car of Babylos. So, no, is that a back-marking car? Indeed so, because the lights are being flashed, the blue flag's being waved by the marshals. So it wasn't Puglisi at all. It is, that's the Yakaskin car. There's David Gosnut.
Now, we said that a few minutes ago. These back markers are going to play into this.
Absolutely. When you get into traffic, you know, you need them to play their part in the race. And to be fair, most of them will very much do that and not hinder anyone's progress. There's a yellow flag at turn 5. So someone in strife at turn 5. That's where Alessandro Vezzoni has abandoned his car at turn 5, presumably. So there you can see on the sector map as well. He'll be very disappointed about that. Alessandro Vezzoni finished the race overall P6 yesterday. Not going to finish this race. There's Philip Barron, our race leader. And there is Vezzoni through the gravel, and that is going to be enough. And the car is going to be parked up. And that is off the back of the... it's off the back of the chicane, isn't it? Which is actually Della Roggia. Okay, right, here's Philip Barron, who's got very nearly 8 seconds over Babylos now. Babylos doing a great job in being able to drive that car through the issues that he has. And, well, Puglisi is not bothering him now. In fact, if anything, David Gosler is getting ever closer to Puglisi. And there is Sam Smith, who's running in P5 overall, but is winning the AM category. Now you can see Babylos, the car really squirming under braking. We've got under 2 minutes of the race left to run. And if he's able to nurse that home in P2, that will be a remarkable drive from Matteo Santaponte, known as Babylos, who races under that nom de plume. And that will have been a brilliant, brilliant job from him. Martin Nelson appears to have seen off the challenge that has come from Andreas Segler. And we are on the final lap. And there's the returning Bjorn Grossman. Said that he'd managed to get back out again. He's right at the back of the pack, running in P15. But the Octane 126 driver got the tyre changed and he's back out on track once again. See some hefty damage to the rear quarter of that car as well.
Absolutely. Now, what would be the point of coming back on?
It's more track time. It's more data that's being sent back to the engineers. And to be honest, when you're in a when you're in a position like that, you're never gonna trouble the placemen at all. But what you are able to do is use it as just a bit of a test session. What's this? Now that is the Philip Barron car, is it not? No, it's the Tommaso Roca car. Wrong call. Yes, look at the number. There, that's why I got confused. Look, the cars are absolutely identical. We are on the final lap. Tommaso Roca's car has stopped going. Philip Barron's has not. Forgive me, it's 91, 97. The cars are absolutely identical. But Tommaso Roca, his car has stopped. Philip Barron is still going. Philip Barron heading towards the win. There's Babylos in P2. And then it's Marcello Puglisi in P3. And Barron then around the Parabolica. Tommaso Roca being asked to see the stewards after the session. Here comes the checkered flag for Philip Barron that takes the win in TropheoPirelli Race 2. And a convincing win from Philip Barron. A brilliant drive from Babylos with an ill-handling car. Puglisi takes P3. Then it's David Gosner, and the best AM is this man, Sam Smith from the UK, who takes P5 overall, but takes the win in the AM category, deservedly so. Here comes Martin Nelson and Andreas Segler to take P2 and P3 in the AM category, but to take P6 and P7 in the race overall. And then it's John Ferrano and Jan Danis. And the checkered flag still held out for the rest of the drivers to make their way through. You can see the congratulations going on down there at the FF Corsa Garage, which is just underneath our commentary position as we speak, because they're delighted that they've brought their man home to a class win. And they have done that as the rest of the pack come through. Well, Dave King, plenty going on in that race, wasn't it?
That was an exciting race, wasn't it? And as you said yesterday, nobody's going to win the championship on the first weekend, but what a great start to a series.
Yeah, absolutely. Never failed to disappoint the Ferrari Challenge. So Barron takes the win from Babylos, and you know, I have to say, I think Babylos has driven an extraordinary race with a car which was
clearly not handling at all.
Clearly damaged. For him to be able to drive through that. Absolutely amazing. And, well, That's rather nice. Martin Nelson's parks up to give Alessandro Vezzoni a lift back to the paddock.
They really do get on with each other, don't they? Which is great to see.
Alessandro Vezzoni and Martin Nelson last year were in such a battle for the AM category. They really were. And now you can sense my confusion here, because there you have the Philip Barron car and the Tommaso Roca car parked up together. Philip Barron trying to offer some support to Tommaso Roca, and we're on board with David Gostner. I just for a moment thought that it was Barron's car that had given up right towards the end of the race, but it wasn't. It was Tommaso Roca.
And stationary in the middle of the circuit. Yeah, very dangerous.
Had it not been the absolute final lap, safety car would have been put out. Absolutely no question about that. But the race is done, and it's Philip Barron that takes the win from Babylos and Puglisi. 3 pro drivers at the front of the pack. The winner in the AM category, Sam Smith. There is the confirmation. Philip Barron takes the win from Babylos and Marcello Puglisi. In the AM category, it's Sam Smith, Martin Nelson, and Andreas Segler, the 1, 2, 3. So another excellent race.
Very exciting. And your driver of that particular race?
I think I'm gonna have to say Babylos. The reason I'm gonna have to say Babylos is because I think he was driving with a car that probably wasn't even 75%. For him to be able to do that,
keep the pace,
actually, not only even if the car was not at 75%, we saw him have that off. He went through the gravel. That's Christian Kinch. Congratulating Babylos. To see that car go off into the gravel, across the tarmac, onto the grass, where he just kept it out of the Armco. I think he glanced the Armco, then get it back out onto the track again. A drive like that, extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary.
And there you can see the back of the car.
Yeah, and he lost that back fairly early on. If you remember,
yes.
I spotted that flying through the air. And what I'm really pleased about, as I said, I'm convinced that's off a Scuderia Autoropa car because the livery, and sure enough it was, but I rather thought it might have been the Martin Nelson car, but it wasn't the Martin Nelson car, it was.
Now, that must have been from a coming together with somebody else?
Not at all. No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was. It's just perhaps if he'd taken a bit of curb and it worked loose. There's Philip Barron out of the car with being congratulated for a fine win. And there's Florian Merckx, who gives him a hug. Florian Merckx, of course, former racer. There's Alessandro Vezzoni, who's been given a lift back by Martin Nelson, you will recall. And that's good to see Babylos and Barron embracing. And there is Sam Smith, who takes the AM category win. Well, it was such an exciting race. Let's throw in the highlights of them once again for you. Here they come right now. Babylos decided to go right through the middle of the pack and, well, got jostled quite a bit. Bjorn Grossman had to shortcut the chicane. Knew that he would get a penalty for that. And we see there from David Gostner that little hit on the back of Babylos, which may well have made that back panel loose, because Babylos was going to lose that back panel soon thereafter. Cars were in strife whichever way you look, that was for sure, but it was the opening lap of this TropheoPirelli race, and everyone wants to get their nose in front. Bjorn Grossman, well, he was chasing the Marcello Puglisi car for lap after lap after lap, doing everything he could. Now, this was an instant where we saw Babylos go off onto the gravel, then he was on the grass, then he was back on the tarmac, then back on the grass again. He glances the Armco. What a remarkable save. Absolutely able to hold on to that. You'll note the back end of the car, that the whole bodywork at the rear end of the car is missing, and that we think is a consequence, perhaps, and well spotted by Dave King, of coming together with David Gostner right on the opening lap. Babylos deciding to take the long way over the curbs. Philip Barron, though, well, he checked out early, hadn't he? Because he was some 10 seconds up the road, jolly near, and was going to take the checkered flag to take the win. Philip Barron victorious. P2 went the way of Babylos with an ill-handling car, and Marcello Puglisi took P3 in the race overall. And there, the cars arriving in Parc Fermé. So the crowd look on then And then confirmation of the classification then is Philip Barron that takes the win. From Babylos in P2, Marcello Puglisi P3, then it was Gosner, Jan Danis and Bjorn Grossman and Alessandro Vezzoni. Those are all the pro classifications. We'll bring you the AM classification shortly. Meantime, the drivers are being hustled up to the podium. So the expectant crowd await. Here comes the AM category classification that I promised you we would have. Sam Smith, Martin Nelson, Andreas Segler, the 1, 2, 3 with Ferrano, Fischer, Benanati, Ramelli, Atta, Yakuskin, and Tomaso Roca, whose car stopped right at the end of the race. So the podium is readied. All we're waiting for is the drivers, and the drivers are actually standing behind the podium. We have a perfect shot of the podium from our commentary position here. And they're about to be brought out onto the podium first of all. And what we'll do is TropheoPirelli podium will be the first one. There's Babylos congratulating Marcello Puglisi, and here's Philippe Barron then. Goes to the top step of the podium with Babylos on step 2. And time for the national anthem right now. So national anthem, part of, plays out, and the drivers are up there on the podium and here to make the trophy presentations. Warm welcome to Stefano Lai, the Ferrari Communications Senior Vice President, who's here this afternoon. And Philippe Barron adds yet another to the burgeoning Barron Trophy cabinet, which is a big one. I can assure you, Philippe Barron, having won many, many races, and indeed has been champion. Setting out his stall right at the beginning of the season, that's for sure, this season. There goes the Pirelli trophy. Those are lovely trophies.
Isn't it just? Absolutely gorgeous. And of course, this was just in reverse of yesterday, isn't it?
Absolutely right. Well spotted, yes, because it was Babylos that was up on the top step yesterday, denied today. And to be fair, Babylos was always on the back foot, even from qualifying this morning. He just didn't look to have the pace in the car, did he?
No.
So for him to have achieved a P2, I think is a remarkable achievement. If I'm not mistaken, I think Puglisi won the race for the bubbly there. So from P3, and as if by magic, there is the car for Rosso Corsa. It's been a good day for Rosso Corsa, taking P3 and P1 on the TropheoPirelli podium. Babylos then, who I think...
that was the drive, wasn't it?
I think so. Drove remarkably to keep that car, A, on the track, and B, to bring it home in P2 is extraordinary. Look at the state of the back end of that car.
And of course, you don't know what all these bits and pieces dangling were doing. That could have had an effect as well.
You're right. And then the winner, Philippe Barron, who certainly didn't put a foot wrong, did he? I think he proved his dominance in qualifying, truthfully. He qualified so far in advance of anyone else. He was very, very quick today, and, well, proves the point probably that he had the pace in the car yesterday, but just wasn't able to find a way past Babylos, who took the race win yesterday. But Barron takes it today. And in the Drivers' Championship, look how tight it is at the top. There's 2 points between them. Philippe Barron takes P1 in the Drivers' Championship. Babylos is P2. Then it is David Gosner, Bjorn Grossman, Jan Danis, Marcello Puglisi, who's on the podium today for P3, and Alessandro Vezzoni, P7 in the Pro Drivers' Championship, denoted by the P at the top of the graphics. So here comes the AM podium now. There's Martin Nelson. And Sam Smith then takes the AM win. And there's Anthony Cheshire from the FF Corsa team. Come on, Anthony, smile a bit, friend. And what a great national anthem to hear. So the Ferrari Challenge, TropheoPirelli AM podium. And here comes the trophy presentations. Luca Zanetti, the head of Ferrari sales department, making the trophy presentations. First of all, to Andrea Zegler, who took P3 in AM. Martin Nelson, good weekend he's had, a P1 and a P2. And taking the win for the UK, Sam Smith then on the top step of the podium. He'll be absolutely delighted with his first weekend in the Ferrari Challenge here at Monza. And Anthony Cheshire from FF Corsa receives his trophy as well. And here comes the Pirelli trophy. So, podiums for the AM done and dusted. And the photographs are being taken. Reminder to you that we have another race to come. Copa Shell race is on its way this afternoon. And, well, Martin Nelson was the first with the fizz from that podium. As we take a look at the 1, 2, 3 in reverse order in the AM category, it was Andrea Zegler for Style F Squadra Corsa that took P3. P2 went the way of the Scuderia Autoropa driver Martin Nelson. Here he is with that awesome livery. Scuderia Autoropa then, and Martin Nelson taking P2. Very, very quick indeed, though. Our race winner in the AM category, that was this man, driving car number 92, Sam Smith. Drifting it beautifully through that chicane. Got the back end stepped out perfectly. So great job from Sam Smith. And the AM Drivers' Championship is now being led by Sam Smith, then on 40 points ahead of Martin Nelson on 36. And Andrea Benanati is P3. So Sam will go fly home to the UK tonight. Pretty chuffed with what he's achieved over this weekend, I feel sure. Do check out everything at races.ferrari.com. That is the website for you to check it out. Reminder to you that we've got more racing to come from the Ferrari Challenge live here at Monza this afternoon. We have a Copa Shell race, which will be very, very exciting and lively indeed. That will be on its way a little bit later this afternoon. Indeed, 13:20 GMT. There you go. Copa Shell Race 2. Hope you can join us for that. And, well, hopefully the TropheoPirelli race has whetted your appetite for what is to come a little bit later on. From Dave King and from myself, thank you so much for watching. And well done to everyone. We'll see you a bit later for the Copa Shell Race 2. Bye-bye for now.
Exciting race. It was good.